Hi there, I'm Phil, and welcome to another installment in our Essential Movies series. Movies that every film student and budding filmmaker should see. Today we're looking at Rashomon. Rashomon was released in 1950, directed by Akira Kurosawa, and starring Toshiro Mifune and Takashi Shimura, among others. Akira Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune did a lot of films together. He was his favourite actor. And this was Kurosawa's 10th film, so he was already quite an experienced director in Japan. But this was the film that made him known internationally. It won the Golden Lion in the Venice Film Festival, the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, among others. This is the first film that most Western audiences saw of Akira Kurosawa, and indeed of any Japanese cinema. He put Japanese cinema on the map, essentially, with this film. So that's one reason to watch it. The other reason, it's Akira Kurosawa. He is one of the great filmmakers of the 20th century. And there are a couple of other movies of his that should also be on our essential movies list. Those who know Kurosawa can think of one other film in particular that is essential viewing for any film student. But the reason I chose Rashomon as the first of Kurosawa's films to look at is it invented the Rashomon effect. This film defined a storytelling structure that many films since have used. The Rashomon effect is basically, imagine the same incident told from multiple viewpoints, and every viewpoint is completely different. Everyone's recollection of the event conflict with each other. Who's telling the truth? In Rashomon, very deliberately, it is not made clear who is telling the truth. It's up to you to decide as the audience. Who do you think is telling the truth? Everyone has an ulterior motive for presenting themselves in the best light. In Rashomon, there is a rape and a murder, and we hear the accounts of this crime from the bandit who is accused of doing it, the perpetrator, from the woman who is the victim, from the husband who is the murder victim through a medium, and from a woodcutter who is a witness to the crime. And they all have very different versions of the story. Many films that have followed this include Gone Girl, The Usual Suspects, more recently The Last Duel. There are many films that follow this storytelling structure. In my other story analysis videos, I break down various films, and mostly they have a 3-act structure. But there is also picaresque and hero's journey. And Rashomon, as defined by this film, is another storytelling structure that you as a storyteller could use. So that's why I suggest this film as one that every filmmaker should see, if only for the way that it invented a new kind of structure that you can use in your own stories. One caveat though when watching this, if you've not seen any Japanese films or Kurosawa films before. Kurosawa's films in particular are inspired by the deep cultural heritage in Japan of samurai honor and loyalty, and also Japanese kabuki and no theatre. And kabuki is very odd for a Western audience to get their heads around. Now, I'm no expert in these forms of theatre, but kabuki is very symbolic, and Kurosawa borrows from this. So when you first start to watch this film, you may feel it's being overacted. It's very melodramatic. Yeah, it is, but you kind of get used to that. And there is no such thing, frankly, as overacting in cinema if the emotions underpinning those actions is as big and real as the action itself. That's what good melodrama is when it comes down to it. And you'll find this kabuki effect very much so in the historical films that Kurosawa made, which is about a third of the films he made overall. It especially comes to the fore in his later films like Kagemusha and Ran. They're very stylistic. So bear that in mind. If you've not seen a Japanese film before, it may take a little bit of getting used to. But also watch it for the cinematography, the camera work in particular. The characters are very fast moving. They're running through a forest, for example, and we're on a tight medium shot. And the camera keeps them center of frame in a 4x3 Academy frame, keeps them centered. The cameraman is really doing well keeping up with the action. You'll find a lot of times in Kurosawa films there's very static, formal shots like this, and very active moving shots where they follow the action of the actors, even when they're moving very fast. And of course, the performances by everyone, including Toshiro Mifune and Takashi Shimura in particular, who are regulars. But I recommend you watch Rashomon more than anything else because it invented a storytelling structure. It invented the Rashomon effect. This is the original. This is where that comes from. If you'd like to see my more in-depth analyses of films, check out my story analysis videos. If you'd like to learn more about filmmaking, check out my book linked below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
そんな不思議な話聞いたことないんだ。だから話してみなよ。